All right, good morning. Welcome to Tax Committee Planning and Zoning. Time is 9:30, June 6th. Let me roll call.
Okay.
Awful.
Yeah.
Yep. Geiger.
Yes.
Hughes.
Here.
Whitlow.
Here.
Ducat.
Was that a chance to look at the agenda? Can I get a first? Second. Can I get a second? First and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Need to approve the claims. Everybody have a chance to look at the claims? Thank you. That's first. Can I get a second, Steve? Can we have a roll call, please?
Awful. Yes. Geiger.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Ducat.
Yes. All right, claims passed. We're going to public comments. Anybody here want to make a public comment? Okay, we'll move on next to Trajectory Energy presentation. Who will be doing that?
That will be us, sir.
All right, your name is?
I'm John Carson. I'm the managing partner of Trajectory Energy Partners. This is Abby Witt on our team,
So yeah, we have some materials that I want to pass out.
Please.
and we are working with the Rice family. Melissa Helpin and Robert Rice are here with us today as well. We have worked before in Iroquois County. Could I ask how many of you were on the board 5 years ago in 2018? So we worked with the Rice family on a project just on the north side of Sheldon. So today I wanted to give you a quick update on what's going on with solar here in Illinois, and then tell you about a new project that we will be bringing through the zoning process, working with Julie and the team here over the next couple months. I'll quickly go through this deck here, just on the right side of your folder. Just give you a quick update on what's going on in Illinois. So our team at Trajectory, we're an Illinois-based company. I live in Lake County, Abby's from McHenry County. We have about 20 staff all around the state, Freeport, Peoria, Southern Illinois, and we focus on community solar projects like we're talking about today, and utility scale projects.
What defines this community project? Because I don't remember seeing it in any of the statutes that recently came through.
On the next slide, I'll walk you through that. Here in Illinois, there's 3 types of solar that you're going to see. One is called behind the meter solar. So if you see some solar panels on someone's roof, or a school maybe has a ½ acre in the back of the school, that's called behind the meter, and that is directly powering that building. Now, and a really important fact about Iroquois County is that in Iroquois, your villages and cities are powered by Ameren, but all of your rural areas are powered by Eastern Illini Electric Cooperative. And everything I'm talking about today only applies to Ameren territory here in Iroquois County. Of all the counties in the state, I think Iroquois has got sort of the tightest lines of Ameren, only covers the villages and the cities with a few small exceptions, like the land that the Rice family owns. The rest is Eastern Illini, and they are exempt from all of this. So in Ameren territory, we have behind the meter systems, and then community solar is defined by 2 things. First, it can't be bigger than 5 megawatts. The project we're talking about today is 2 megawatts. 5 megawatts would typically take up about 40 acres. Anything bigger than that is utility scale. The other big distinction is that a utility scale project, a very large project, usually that power is going to one big large user. It might be a Facebook data center, might be a large hospital. But with community solar, the savings and the electricity is kept here in the community, in the county, and those savings go to local residents. And to jump to the next slide, just to talk about that a little bit. You know, when I was here in 2018 and we worked with the Rice family on the first project north of Sheldon, none of these have been built in the state of Illinois yet. At this point, about 150 of these community solar projects are built across the state right now. Our company has about 11 of them in construction in various parts of the state right now. A bunch more are built. And we're starting to see people that are saving from these. I myself am a community solar subscriber. I save about $40 to $60 a month. Really great example. Any of you familiar with OSF Healthcare? They have 13 large campuses around the state. In some cases, they own some extra land, but in a lot of cases, they don't. They are one of the largest community solar subscribers in the state. They save about $100,000 a year from being a community solar subscriber. So the solar panels don't have to be on their home. They can be located anywhere on Ameren or in Northern Illinois ComEd's grid, and a resident or a business like a nonprofit like OSF or a school can be a subscriber and see savings on their bill. And that is what we've been working on here in Iroquois County. Any questions on that piece?
Yeah, is your 2 megawatts of energy generated put out into the grid?
Mhm.
And then anybody technically can use it, but the subscribers, in theory, end up with the savings.
Exactly.
So it's for sale,
Mhm.
so we would call that a commercial facility in
That's
our
right.
definitions.
That's correct.
Okay.
The example I like to use is I think of it exactly the same as a grain elevator. So when a farmer brings in their corn, they don't write their name on each kernel. And 6 months later, when they sell the corn, they don't go find those kernels. Our electricity will just be going right onto the grid in Sheldon. And on a bright sunny day, pretty much everyone in Sheldon, if you could actually track those electrons, they'd be coming from that solar farm, and less energy would be coming into the grid from some coal plant 200 miles away. But the savings go to people who sign up as subscribers. And once a project is built, we work with the local community, we work with the Rice family to make sure that first residents in Sheldon could be subscribers, other Iroquois County residents. But again, really important piece for Iroquois County, unfortunately, anyone on a Illini Electric Co-op could not be a subscriber. And that's community solar. About 20 states in the United States have community solar. It works well to allow solar savings for families or businesses who couldn't have their own behind-the-meter system. On the next slide, just an example of a pretty typical community solar project where an aspect I wanted to mention is that this is very typical, that what you see is these projects are located next to small towns. And the reason for that is that's where our electric grid is. Ameren doesn't have big heavy lines out in more rural areas. The heavier lines are near the small towns. That's where the substations are. So this, what we're proposing in Sheldon is very typical for this kind of thing. I'll skip quickly through some of the rest of these on slide 7, just to give you a sense of where these projects are located. We need to be first next to an Ameren 3-phase line. You sometimes see single phase out there, these next to be 3-phase. Typically need at least 15 acres for a 2 megawatt project. We try to stay out of floodplains, try to stay out of wetlands. And one issue that's important I wanted to mention, I grew up on a dairy farm myself in western Wisconsin. Preserving our productive farmland is an issue that's really important. I wanted to give you a sense of scale. So there is a 3-phase line that runs from Sheldon up to the little village of Iroquois. There's about enough room on there for about 6 total megawatts of solar. We have 2 projects that we're working on. There's another 1 or 2 north of there. So that entire stretch from Sheldon to Iroquois is never going to be able to see more than at maximum about 100 acres of solar. So to give you a sense, and once those projects are built, if anyone tried to build another one, Ameren would tell them that line is full, no more room. So that's one aspect of, well, this does indeed use farmland. It won't, there's a limit to how much it can use. So I'll,
That's unless Ameren upgrades their transmission capabilities or a new line is put in.
that's right.
So to say it never will happen is not really the case.
That's right. If Ameren were to, if for instance the population of Iroquois greatly increased and they needed to bring more capacity there.
Or if they wanted to use more of our ag land for production of solar or wind generation, then they could up the transmission capabilities to harvest that.
That could be possible, but it would be linear. So if they doubled the capacity, you'd go from 100 acres to 200 and so on and so forth.
But somebody said they were in talks, or the state gave Ameren some money here recently to up their transmission capabilities.
Yeah,
Are you
that
familiar with that?
just happened in the last legislative session. What it actually gave Ameren is something called a right of first refusal, that they would, if anyone tried to build a private line, they could actually come in and build it. Not sure if that'll end up, the governor hasn't signed it yet. We'll have to see what happens with that. I'll maybe jump to a couple other quick things I'll mention. One aspect of state law and of the way this works in Iroquois County is prior to constructing any of these projects, we have to put a decommissioning bond in place. So no matter what happened to the project, no matter what happened to the company, the county would have a bond in place to remove that entire system if anything happened. That's an important aspect of this. Any other questions sort of on solar in general? Otherwise, I'll jump to our specific project that we're working with the Rice family on.
You plan on doing this for 40 years, that's right up here, you passed over.
Yes, these projects have a lifespan of 40 years, and that bond is in place and is revisited every so many years in case that amount of the bond needs to go up. Now, if you want to jump to the other deck that we put together to talk specifically about the project and today we're giving you an overview. Then we'll work with Julie to put a formal application together, go through your ZBA, and then the project will come back to the full county board. I know you're right in the middle of updating your ordinance.
Yeah.
Yep, you just finished it, so we wanted to give you a preview today and then we'll go through the process. So is everyone familiar with the intersection of 24 and 52 right on the north side of Sheldon? So this project, Tributary Solar, is about as small as you would see a community solar project. This is one parcel, 16.5 acres. And Robert and Melissa, how long has the Rice family farm been in the family?
1935 is the overall farm and Grandpa came in and bought it. And 3 brothers bought this 16.5 acres, I believe, 1986.
So we do, as a company that's based here in Illinois, really like to work with families that have been in the community for a long time and make solar as a part of their overall farming income. I think working with the Rice family is a good example. After these 2 projects are completed, the majority of their land will still be in agriculture, but this will be a diversification of the income for the family. And as a community solar project, this will be bringing about $40,000 a year in savings to Ameren utility customers. Again, on the next slide here, I've just got a little overview of how community solar works. One aspect of state law is that for each of these projects, half of the capacity has to be for small subscribers, residents, small businesses, and then half of it can go to larger entities like a school district or a municipal building, something like that. Another aspect of these projects is that under Illinois law, the assessment rate for property taxes is already set, and it's significantly higher than you would typically see from agricultural taxes. For this 15-acre parcel, in the first year, it would be just over $15,000 in property taxes paid. Typically, what we see is about 2/3 of that goes to the school district, typically, but the township and county and other taxing bodies would see that revenue as well as the utility savings. On the next slide, we wanted to give you a sense of where these 2 projects are. So right at that intersection of 24 and 52, there's a railroad that goes through there. So as you're coming south on 52, there's quite a few trees along the railroad there. So from that side, it won't be terribly visible. Then as you take a right onto 24, the first project, which we call North Sheldon Solar, we worked with Bob Yergler at the time and went through the zoning process, was approved by the county board in 2018. And what you might have heard people talk about is when this all first happened the first time, the state had a lottery for all of these projects. So some projects were picked, some weren't. This project was not selected in the lottery at the time, but we've worked with the Rice family to keep the lease in place. We've done all of our diligence work out on the site, an ALTA survey, a topo survey, and we've worked with Ameren on the interconnection for this project. So, and kept in touch with Iroquois County zoning. Your special use permits here are permanent, so this one is still in place from 2018, and we expect this project to actually get constructed next year. And based on the capacity that Ameren currently has in the line, there is room for at least an additional 2 megawatts on that line. The line actually runs up right between these two projects, follows drainage ditch that is right there. And this will be called tributary solar. But we were sort of watching the process that you guys were approving an ordinance, working with the Rice family, and now that that's completed, we'll be putting in a formal application for zoning.
What is tributary to you? What is that?
So a fun part of these projects is that you have to pick a name for them.
Oh,
And you have to see if someone else hasn't already taken the name. So the first one we named North Sheldon, because it's north of Sheldon. And I was kind of surprised that the name Tributary Solar was still available, but it was. And so I don't know if Robert, does that creek have a formal name that you're aware of?
It's just a drainage ditch.
So it's a tributary to something, so
There you
that's what we are calling it. On the next slide is just an example of what a more detailed drawing looks like for these projects. This is the detailed drawing for North Sheldon Solar. One thing that I think is really interesting about solar is it's almost like working with Legos. You can fit it into a space that works. In this case, there is a drainage ditch already all the way there. I think, Robert and Melissa, you've told me it's not your tenant farmer's favorite parcel to go out and plant. And with these solar panels, you can fit them into spaces like that. And because the ground is flat enough, these will all be the single axis tracker types with the rows that run north and south, face east in the morning and west in the afternoon.
are there homes near this?
So the closest homes are on the other side of 24. I think over 100 feet further away from the panels than your ordinance requires. And a really interesting aspect of 24 there is that it's built up quite a bit. So it almost acts as a natural berm between where that field is. Next time you're in Sheldon, take a look, you'll sort of see the land is lower on both sides of 24. But we'll follow your ordinance and also put some screening on the north side. And I really appreciate that your ordinance, and you were one of the first counties to do this, you require a pollinator-friendly ground cover underneath the panels, which I think is a really nice addition as well. On the next slide here, so this is the parcel where we're proposing the second project, Tributary Solar. As Robert mentioned, it's just a separate pin and kind of neatly rectangular there in the corner, but we'll still leave the majority of the Rice family farm in agriculture. Then the next slide is just a couple pictures of what these look like. Because it is flat enough ground, these will be the tracker systems that face east in the morning, west in the afternoon. A question I get a lot is what happens when it snows. This project, the picture I took out at a project, the morning after an 8-inch snowstorm. The snow, especially because these tilt and move during the day, the snow just slides right off them. We bake into our production estimates that there will be a few hours where the panels are covered in snow. But one nice aspect of solar is that its peak production is on that same hot, sunny day that everyone's got their air conditioners turned on. So for Ameren, before there were all these little solar projects sprinkled all over, the biggest stress on their grid was those couple days in the summer. Sometimes it's in September when kids are back in school, And their lines are just straining to get enough energy out to the end of their grid. And you are on the Indiana border here, so you are at the end of Ameren's grid. By putting these 2 5-megawatt solar projects directly on Ameren's grid, the interesting part, sir, is that putting these solar projects on Ameren's grid actually reduces the likelihood that they're going to expand them because they have generation out on the end of these. And then on the next slide, you can see what that pollinator ground cover looks like. Now, anyone who's ever planted that's on slide 9. Anyone who's ever planted a prairie, I have to give a disclaimer here that it does not look this good in year 1. It takes a few years, and you do still have to mow them at the end of the season because, as you can imagine, you couldn't let that dead plant material build up over the years. That has to be removed at the end of each season, but it does really provide a nice pollinator habitat.
Who mows it?
So that will be a local contractor. It's really a
Who
fast.
pays it?
What's that?
Who pays for it?
Oh, we do. So as you said, sir, this is a commercial enterprise. We're asking for a zoning permit to have permission to build there, but this is all a private enterprise. But it's a really fast-growing occupation. There's a gentleman in Will County who has a little contracting service. He used to do some cemeteries and whatnot. He's tripled his business mowing solar farms all over eastern Illinois. And then again, I just wanted to mention that decommissioning, which I think is such an important part of the process so that you know, the landowners know, the neighbors know that the funds are there to remove the system no matter what. And then on the final slide here, we've just got the contact information for one of our developers who is at another meeting today, so we're covering for him. But Elin is actually from Danville, grew up in nearby Vermilion County. So any other questions or advice for us, I guess, as we go through the process?
How many homes are in the Sheldon, Ameren customer service area?
Sheldon is about a population of about 500, is that right?
Well, just under 1,500.
Oh, 15.
How about home? I'm talking about homes.
Oh,
They threw out the number 400 homes, and I was just curious on how this works. On these subscriptions, because your math. could be
It's
a
about
curve.
400 homes,
Right.
but people are not opted into it, people are not forced to do it.
How does that work now?
Once the system is up and running, we give the local area an opportunity to sign up first. We might send mailers out, we might do internet ads. We offer to work with, local municipal government or county government, but you don't need to. It is a commercial enterprise at the end of the day, and then expand from there.
They just sign up, no cost or anything, and they
That's right.
get these benefits.
To give you an example, so if you had a nice south-facing roof on your home and you wanted to put solar on your own home, you would probably pay about $30,000 upfront. Someone would have to drill holes in your roof and install that system. You'd probably make your money back in 4 or 5 years and then see pretty significant savings. With community solar, you're just signing some paperwork, choosing to get your electricity from that solar farm, but at a discounted rate to whatever Ameren's charging. With a community solar farm, whatever Ameren's charging, we charge 20% less for that energy. And if Ameren's prices go up, that price floats up and down with it. But because we don't have to put anything on your home, there's no cost up front, and you see savings from year 1.
Any other questions?
Have they started the process of filling out forms and all then, Julie, or
No, not yet.
so?
This was our initial meet and greet type of thing.
Sure.
And since we did just finish the ordinance, I feel we still have gaps in between what needs to be filled out and how to get there. And so, I need to work with you guys to figure out what we need to do next so that we can make sure that we have everything in order.
And we're happy to, totally understand you're in that transition phase and happy to work with you. We've gone through this zoning process in about 25 different counties across the state. One thing I can commit to is that we'll do extensive neighbor outreach. So the county you'll mail the neighbors officially,
Right.
but we'll also send all the neighbors in Sheldon an additional letter from us. We'll knock on the closest neighbors' doors to see if they have any questions. It's one thing I can commit to. We do extensive community outreach as part of this process. For the last project, when we came through in 2018, we didn't have any neighbors object to the project. It was pretty supportive.
I didn't see any information of your business,
Oh,
basic information or.
Yeah, I put one slide in there on the front of the first one about us. We're a team of, we just hired 3 more people yesterday, so I guess we're up to 29 now. Most of us.
Just where are you physically located, your contact information, and I think I missed it on the sheet.
Let me give each one of you my card as well.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
Good.
We have an office in Chicago. I live up in Lake County in Highland Park. We have staff all over the state. I'll give you.
And in your packet, you'll also see contact information for a gentleman named Elon McMillan.
I saw that.
Yeah, who is the developer for this and neighboring over in Vermillion County.
But just know where you're, even this doesn't say where you're based, so, okay. So you're an Illinois company,
Yes.
corporation, or some other form of,
LLC.
how long have you been in business?
We started when Illinois passed the first law here in Illinois in 2017. I was working for Tesla before then, living here in Illinois, working for Tesla, but when Illinois passed this law, we started Trajectory. I have to admit, I'm a transplant from Wisconsin. Hopefully it won't hold that against me.
The people out there.
Your cheese.
I'll bring some next time. I'm very proud to be working with the Rice family. We've worked with dozens and dozens of landowners across the state.
So you have your first already done.
It isn't built yet, but the permitting is completely done.
Okay. I don't know if you did the first one already. I was gonna ask you.
That'll go to construction next year, and then this one, we would anticipate going to construction in 2025.
Have you got any feedback yet from anybody? Have you done any mail outs for subscriptions to any, the town already? What have you done to?
Not in Iroquois County, but we have in other
Well, I just
counties.
figured since you had, no, I'm talking about for Sheldon, so when you're gonna build this, have you already pre-checked with the homeowners to see what you're gonna get for subscriptions?
Not yet. We usually start that just about the time construction starts, so people can take a look at it, they know what's going on. They do fill up pretty quickly. Once you have a few subscribers, especially where we've worked with larger entities like OSF, people see that it's a pretty straightforward process. And
Is there a limited number of subscribers?
there is. You literally, the way you think of it is you're reserving a certain number of those panels out there, and ends up being about 400 homes for a project of this size.
So it's 400 homes for 16 acres roughly?
That's right. Yep. And the final document we have in there, I won't go through it now, but we just have a solar overview that has a lot of typically asked questions on how all of this works. One thing we go into extensively here that is very important in Iroquois County is drainage tile. We do a full drain tile survey before we start construction, so we know exactly where those lines are and keep them all in good shape.
Do you own the land and west of this proposed property and also north of this proposed property?
The family, okay, the 16.52 is 3 brothers,
Right.
and then the rest of it all around is the family.
So if you cut us out, you know who's managing.
Yes, that's right. Your only neighboring landowners is the Rice family themselves. And everything drains into that drainage ditch right there too. All right.
I'll see if anyone else has any more questions.
We'll come up with over time, I think, once you start reading through the ordinance. And
Yeah,
start
we'll work with Julie to put a formal application together, and,
Yeah, and
You guys and-
I wanna pull your old one to give me an idea of what happened previously.
Yeah, we'd kinda like to look at that too.
Yeah,
I'd have to say when, so we zoned a couple dozen projects with sort of the first push of these in 2018, and Iroquois had one of the most advanced ordinances. You were one of the first ones to put the pollinator piece in there, you had some smart screening pieces. It sounds like you did some things to comply with the state law, but the bulk of your ordinance is still there.
on on the previous permit, was it also under trajectory or was it?
It was.
Okay.
Well, the application is under the project company name, so it would have been called North Sheldon Solar.
Okay, thank you.
But our name was on all the materials and application.
How long has the company been in business?
2018,
27.
2017.
17, sorry.
Each of us worked in other solar companies, renewable fields, and then when Illinois started really moving this industry forward, we started Trajectory.
Anything else? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. Look
Thank you
forward
for
to
working
working
with
with
us. Moving on, I'll get reports from the departments. Bree, you're up first, please.
Sure. So assessment rolled to us on May 16th. The abstracts were balanced on our end and sent into the state on the same day, so 5/16. We still have not received a multiplier, so today is week 3 waiting, which again, 2-week turnaround is excellent, so not 100% sure where the state is at. So we're kind of still at a standstill on getting everything finalized as far as an extension. Kurt, I know you have been getting a lot of phone calls regarding tax bills, and we do have a lot of taxpayers that have called into my office as well, wondering where their tax bill is because they're usually due at the beginning of June. So Kurt did put out a press release that they are late. So anyway, basically, we're at a standstill. We began the purge of voter registration. There were 18,099 voter registration cards mailed. We have started getting a lot of those back. Doug, you were one of the ones that brought one into us. So we started getting those back and sending out the follow-up registration cards that they come back from the post office as undeliverable. So we're working on that. And then the microfilm project that we were approved of through the ARPA committee for the scanning of books A through 269, where the company was going to be at the Old Courthouse Museum. That project, the scanning is 100% completed. They got to the Old Courthouse Museum on May 8th and began scanning and scanned through there until Saturday the 13th. They called me about, 6:30 at night, and so I came over, opened the building so they could get set up over here, and they started scanning here. And then they finished here on the morning of May 17th. So all of that is completed. So now we're going to step 2 of that project, which is the naming of the documents and indexing. That's going to start after a Zoom meeting that I have on Wednesday. So hopefully we'll have that project completed soon. Other than that, just waiting on our election equipment to get here. We have it ordered, just waiting on it. So that is all I have.
Any questions? Good. All right, we'll move on to the treasurer.
As Brian said, we're just waiting till state rolls to her, or she gives her the information, and she rolls to me, so DevNet is waiting, as soon as all that happens, they'll come in, we'll get everything balanced, and then get the bills printed and get them out, so. Been getting, like I said, I put out a press release, because we've been getting a lot of phone calls, and people just think that they're all due based upon when they used to be mailed out, so. They're getting yelled at, because one woman was on a fixed income, and she couldn't calculate out what she needed to pay, since we messed up her file, her accounting system or whatever, so. But other than that, you know, like I said, we're just waiting to see what happens, so.
All right. Let's see, Bob. So
No problem.
we will skip over that. That's why Teresa's here.
No, only half assessment.
And planning and zoning,
Half right now.
so what gets you that half?
Pardon?
Are you the planning and zoning half, or are you gonna be,
We're splitting her, she's half assessment, half zoning.
so do you have anything on zoning?
Yes.
Still be true.
It's true.
Okay, good, go ahead.
May permits, for building were a total $7,318. I think everyone has, we spent $5,113.67 between, inspections and mileage. And, that's about it for what's happening in zoning. We got, as far as, permits and money that's being spent, trying not to spend any.
On your report, you got, I'm just trying to figure out the math.
Yeah, I was looking at, see, this, I'm not sure what happened on the permit, on the report out of DevNet. That's what I was looking at as well. It's like a few $100s more than what, Lou had printed out. So I need to go back through and look at that and see where that came from. Because the DevNet report, unfortunately, is not always accurate. It has some duplications sometimes, and Bob and I both were looking at that the other day, trying to figure out how to make that duplication stop.
And another question I have is your total building permits, is that for the year or the 23,000?
Yes, that should be the total for the year, yes.
So this is a canned report we're seeing from DevNet? Or is this something the year
This
ago?
report, this
No,
report,
this-
that is what Lou has generated, so I'm not, except for our, spreadsheet that we have tallying, that's where she pulls that information from. But this, like I said, this is the report out of DevNet, and it does have, unfortunately, it keeps doing some duplication, and Bob and I both are trying to figure out what boxes we need to check, uncheck to eliminate that duplication.
And then your
I believe
claim,
permit 5811 is the one that duplicated, but I can't say it. Yes, 5811 duplicated.
and then your claim page, we owe Brian Poole $4,000 for 1 month of inspection.
It is not 1 month. He finally turned all of his inspections in for, we're looking at like 2 years total.
Can we
And
maybe change that going forward so that,
he is no longer going to do electrical inspections for us. It will be Larry, and Larry is turning in monthly.
I mean, we, across the board, it'd be nice for management to know what our income is and what our expenses are. You know, we just have to ask for that, I would think.
Right, well,
Yeah.
it was an unexpected thing. I've been asking since I got here from Brian to provide me with the inspections that he had, and it never came, and so we had to take some steps.
It looks like Jeff Meyer,
the money too bad.
yeah, it looks like Jeff Meyer might have a little issue too, because he's got a 0 in
He
there.
did not turn in for May. He was out of town and missed the deadline.
He's
Yeah.
usually pretty good about
Yes.
turning in monthly.
Yes, this
Yeah,
is a very rare exception for stuff.
come in here for the hunting, the outdoorsman. You see that, Doug?
What page you looking at?
Page 3 of 3.
I don't think so.
The Outdoorsman Association.
Right, maybe Julie knows who that is.
Are you worried that that was the
Not worried,
hunt club?
just-
No,
just
it's,
bringing
it's,
it up.
it's completely different. It's, they're just putting up like a lean-to, onto, out in the middle of nowhere.
There is no such place. Middle of nowhere?
I've been told you have to have a off-wheel vehicle to get out there to even look at it, so.
Area where it's at, you know where it's at?
It's in, Milford somewhere. I don't have the exact, location on me.
Okay. Yeah.
It's by Egypt.
All right. All right. We'll move on to discussion on in-person solicitation applications. I'm reading to Doug if you want to go ahead, I see you raise your hand.
No, I was just
Oh, I'm sorry, I
scratching
saw
something.
you raise your hand.
Quit doing that.
And then Julie, when somebody comes in to get a solicitor application, you're gonna ask them which generation system they'll be working with, either wind or solar, and then you'll hand give them the ordinance for the appropriate
Yes.
topic.
Like I said, this is just a draft, and if anyone has anything that they would like to see added or omitted, please feel free.
Employer information, that is the person that's wanting.
That'd be trajectory today.
Yeah.
Is the intention. Do you know who and how they contacted Bob Rice at all, or?
No, I do not. I mean, like he said, I mean, they've had an ongoing relationship,
Exactly, yeah.
so.
Anything on this form that indicates what area of the county they're gonna be working in or wanting to work in, is that something you think?
How are they gonna know where to look until they get the permit to look?
Unless they've done previous work.
That's illegal. It's a $5,000 fine.
There you go.
Okay. Well, they're falling under the old confusion.
Uh-huh.
The reason I'm asking it is so that we might have some idea what part of the county they'd be willing to work in. I would think they would have some ideas ahead of time.
Julie brought that up, but we didn't know how to define, where they're looking. In this case, they're looking for 16 acres anywhere along the utility line, apparently from Sheldon to Iroquois. So,
What district?
And how do you define where they're looking, or knocking on doors?
Could we say, what township are you, I don't know.
You could say. which
Just put a
district,
location
yeah.
description line,
I'm in a district, you're in a different district.
because most people from around here aren't gonna know that, they're just gonna
Bringing
know
up the
northeast, southwest.
That's a good idea.
We just didn't know how to-
Answer.
Yeah, word it.
What'd you say, Jill?
I said you could just put a location description and put a couple lines so they can describe where they're looking at, like it say that, you know, the northeast corner of the county between this town and this town, or, because most people coming in, they're not gonna know townships or any of that stuff, they're just gonna say, hey, I wanna be over by 57, okay, well then, they can write that in there then. And just
So-
provide them 2 lines for a short description of a location.
My thought is the line that I have, please describe the type of commercial energy facility for solicitation. If I could add, just simply add and location there and maybe add another line.
Gonna add a line for wind or solar, we're just gonna put that with that one.
Well, it says, please describe the
Right.
type, and so if I would to just add,
And location.
and location, and then add another line to give them additional space to write.
Fine with me.
From
Maybe
today's,
and approximate location, maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
from today's conversation with them, they seem like they're married to the Ameren transmission lines. So
Right.
once you have your meeting with Ameren, you'll know where
Right.
there's higher probability of somebody landing.
Really all along, you know, especially the closer, I would think, to the substations that they're putting, but I could be wrong on that.
When is the date with that meeting, Julie?
I think it's a week from today.
14th?
That'd be.
That'd be a week from tomorrow. I have it on my calendar, I'm sorry, I will look at that again.
Fine.
I mean, I know I forwarded that to you and Paul.
I have received a phone call late last night about it. So it's most definitely something that's gonna happen, that line is gonna be upgraded. But that gentleman was telling us this morning, there's a bunch of hooey.
Yeah, they're gonna upgrade it, and we're
Right.
gonna have several of these projects.
They can call it what they want, but it's still commercial.
Exactly.
That's what they're
Trying to pull the,
Yeah.
yeah, hanky panky.
That's why our ordinance defines it.
Right.
Simplifies.
Have a little shot that he's
Maybe not.
It's okay.
You know, we have Doug and you and that guy over there.
Anything else you guys see? I didn't see any folks, sorry. Are you good with that, Julie, then?
Yeah, I'll just add and approximate location and put another line in there, and we should be good.
They'll write it in Iroquois County.
Yeah, I know.
Just to be on there.
Yeah.
But, you know, we can reject that, we need more.
Information.
That's fine.
I've been honoring all morning, so. All right.
I think that the idea of having the location in there and the whole idea of having a solicitor deal, so that we have an idea of what's going on in the county. I think that's a vital and important part of all of this, for us to be able to manage our responsibilities. So, if somebody submits an application and isn't specific enough, Julie she's smart enough to understand that and get that taken care of.
Paul, I know I didn't have this on, but this is in conjunction with the solicitor application. The permit that I started, I didn't know if this was a good place to start, or if I need to scrap this and start over. I used the current building permit that we use as a guide.
I don't have any issues with it. maybe an emergency phone number?
Okay.
For them? Yes, no? Doug, you look it up. What do you think?
What kind of emergency a solicitor would have.
Or the 911 and then call them and tell them to place on fire?
No, this is just for the solicitor to go out and knock on their door.
Oh, okay.
So that the homeowner knows
Right.
that they
I was
are
gonna say.
registered.
We have a fire alarm.
Yeah.
Pull there at the side.
Okay, you get what I'm thinking. Thank you.
I guess the question I have on the permit is why are you calling the county board office if you have a question?
It's not, it's 6995. It's 6995. We're 6955.
And then the number in the zoning department is 6995, is it?
I'm 6955.
I understand that.
Is your phone number 6995?
And then,
Well, you know it's your desk. What's it ring to?
just ring, I don't know. I don't call it.
Well, we need
Are
to
you
get
looking at
your
me
number.
for confirmation? I don't call it either, I don't know. I mean,
You'll make
This,
sure it's right, correct?
Right.
yeah,
Somebody got
I
the
will
call
tell,
back.
but
Jill, you got your phone, call it, see if Julie answers.
well,
Julie gets the right number.
well,
Air
it's the number,
voicemail.
I will tell you that it's the number that is on every single permit that we issue. So if it's wrong, I need to fix all of them.
He's calling.
Need to remember that they can reach you at your desk.
Assessment and zoning office get a recording.
Oh, her.
So,
It is her number.
Why is it getting a recording?
Not the number I
There's nobody's
call.
answering.
no one's answering.
Bob won't answer.
But it just, I mean, how many times did it ring?
Not really. It just went right to that recording.
It should just go to you and you,
Yeah, just me and you.
but if nobody answers, it'll go to a recording.
Yeah, you guys.
I just
Just
need to check
been
that
ringing
number.
every time, you know.
If we're good, we can figure this one out.
Yeah. Okay.
You're being hungry today, Doug. All right, we'll move on. Anything else, Julie?
That was it, so, you guys are okay, except just need to verify that phone number?
Yeah.
978. That's the number right here.
Go check out.
I think that's a fun
So-
Yeah, I think that's assessment,
one, which is
697.
All right, rescheduling the,
Paul? Paul?
yeah.
It's not related to your permitted stuff, but a gentleman came in, he's got a solar farm in Indiana. Was inquiring about the Louis K farm. We've got a solar farm out here. Farm ground usually was typically $20-40 an acre for taxes. Louis K generates $802 an acre in tax money per acre, and it's 69 acres.
To the different taxing bodies in that township.
Correct.
Okay.
So originally, if it was just farm ground, they'd only get whatever, $40 an acre. Here, they're making over 800, so most of it's going to the school district.
Now, as people's taxes get reduced, you
Well,
know,
that would just depend on what the taxing bodies want to do based on the higher EAV.
you know that answer.
No comment.
All right, rescheduling our meeting July 5th at 9:30. Moving from there, any old business? Any new business? Can I get a motion? Barb,
I move to adjourn.
need a second, Steve? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, everyone.